And welcome to part C of the fantasy version walkthrough. In this version, we take on the Queen. But first, show you some ways to do some good training. The way I'm showing on screen now is how to get the lucky egg. So it's all the way in Rosemary City, but at least we finally get it in the game. This is also the Mead Hall, which is south of Queen's Road, and it's a very good way to train. You've got 6 trainers that respawn every day, and their Pokemon are around level 56 before the post game, so they're quite good with XP as well. And also you got Raya, and she'll do the training with you. You should have enough moves to do a few battles against her Blissies. There's 6 of them, and the level depends on how many trainers you've defeated on the sort of routes of the game. So that's pretty useful, and she will give you quite a bit of XP as well, even if the levels are quite low. Obviously, Blissy's famous for its high XP rate. So that's all we did. It just basically knocks themselves out and gives you a bunch of free XP. So obviously, stacked with a lucky egg, you get even more. And now we're going to take on the Queen's Guards. We're going to do them left to right, but you can do them in any order, a bit like the Elite Four in the main games. They're quite simple. It's quite a simple way to navigate this area. Magnus is up first. He uses the Sun team. So this is sort of how we dealt with him. He starts with Sawsbuck and Ninetales, as you can see there. Now these two are quite nasty combinations. Sawsbuck's Chlorophyll makes it really, really fast, I think. And Ninetales has Drizzle. So we went with the Dragon Dance combo. And also Ninetales carries Nasty Plot, Sawsbuck carries Swords Dance. So you've got to really take care of them quite quickly, which we managed to do with Sawsbuck, at least with Dog. So that was quite a good thing there. We get a bunch of level ups. It sounds like his best one pretty quickly, Volcarona. We go for the Rock Slide at that point, because Volcarona is 4 times weak to Rock. Doesn't even knock it out, so it's actually pretty bulky on this case, but the Crunch does knock it out. We managed to get rid of Volcarona before it can move. Potentially very strong with its Quiver Dance, so it was a good job we got rid of it that quickly. Torkoal comes out, and we go for Rock Slide again. Not quite knocking anyone else out. These two are pretty bulky, even against an enhanced attack dragon. So then Dog gets knocked out by Torkoal's Body Press, which is obviously quite high power because Torkoal's quite high defense. We're sort of debating what to do next. The sun's still up, so water type moves aren't that brilliant yet. But when the sun goes down, they're obviously all stations go. So we're still going for the rock type moves. And I think our logic was that Torkoal was pretty defensive, but not very offensive on this particular turn with Burning Jealousy. Espeon can be quite annoying. It's a bit of a tank. It keeps using Morning Sun and moves such as that. We go for another Rock Slide. Probably, I think we're trying to get the flinches. Also, it carries Psychic, which could potentially be quite crippling for various team members. We decided not to learn Magic Powder because it does sound like a very situational move, and we've already got a pretty decent moveset at the minute. So that was what that was about. So it's just Espeon left. So we were laughing at this point because we got 5 versus Espeon. We did switch Dragon out because we didn't want to waste a revive on it. To Bird, which is obviously a lot better at tanking, and also has Power Trip, which would deal decent damage as well. So we're literally just waiting to get rid of Espeon. Not difficult on its own. We've got 2 Pokemon, they've got 1. And that battle's done. Oh, by the way, all Queen's Guard battles are double battles, if that wasn't obvious so far. They're all based on weather, and they're all double battles. So it's quite a simple... so you just leave the door, and you come out the same door you came in, and then you just go into the next one after that. Second one is Aquia. She has a Rain team. Jolteon and Polito to start with. Jolteon can be pretty terrifying with Thunder, but I don't think it's too difficult on this one. We go with Dragon again because it resists most of the attacking types of the first 2 Pokemon. And also Lilypad's pretty good with that as well. Goes for the Protect, and the Hyper Voice manages to protect against it. We're sort of Dragon Dancing and going for Giga Drain on Politoed to hopefully hit a fair amount. Helping Hand, unhelpful, but we get lucky with an Outrage, critical Outrage, and Knockout Jolteon in one hit. Giga Drain doesn't quite get Politoed to half. It's pretty specially defensive and is good in that regard. Bronzong, quite tanky. I think we deal with it we don't have much of a struggle with dealing with it because we've got a bunch of dark type moves, and obviously since Gen 6 it's now weak to dark again. But Politoed's still out as well, and we're sort of a bit cautious just in case. Outrage doesn't hit much on Bronzong because obviously Steel and Dragon. Politoed carries Toxic, and Bronzong carries Gyro Ball, which can hit quite hard if you've got a fast Pokemon. So we decided to go for Bird, I think because it's slower and because it sort of resists the toxic elements of it. And then we go for another Giga Drain on Politoed to try and get its HP down. Which we almost managed to do. We almost knock it out, but it keeps going with the Hyper Voice. We're not really worried about Hyper Voice. It's barely hitting anything. Its other moves wouldn't do too much either. I mean, Politoed's main purpose on this team is to sort of set the rain. As much as I do like the Pokemon, it's not very good in this particular battle, and we do knock it out. So we're level 68 now. Use another Hone Claws. Gyro Ball does practically nothing. Gyarados is Aquia's most powerful Pokemon, and it's a bit of a struggle in this battle. I think the reason that the footage is a bit slow is because we're trying to work out what to do, because we've got one electric type move in the entire team, and it's on a fire type. So we know that Dog's just going to get outsped and O-code if we send it out. So that was the sort of risk there. We were sort of figuring out how to get rid of Gyarados, and also with the threat of Bronzong being there with its Psychic as well. I think we were taking a real gamble sending Bat out, but we heal someone, I think. No, yes we do. Moo Moo Milk on Bird. Waterfall doesn't knock out Bird because it's tank. Power Trip doesn't knock out Bronzong, which is unfortunate because it's Psychics and Oko's Bat down. So then I think, right, okay, let's just go for Dog at this point and pray that Gyarados attacks somebody else. And if it does attack Dog, our logic was we could then knock out Bronzong, except we didn't go for that logic because we then sent out Lilypad and it then used a full Max Potion or full Restore. And it knocks out Bird. And then I really don't know what the logic was on this one. I think we just sort of prayed that the AI would go dodgy. And went with the Bubble Beam and Thunder Fang. It did not. It Waterfalled us and O-coded us as I thought it would do a few turns ago. Bronzong hits Psychic and doesn't do that amazingly well. Hattie comes out. I think we wanted to just sort of reduce Gyarados' attack quite low down and go for the Bubble Beam. We don't manage to reduce the attack because it goes for Bounce, but misses. So actually we do manage to reduce the attack because it has a Power Herb and will not take 2 turns on the first time. Okay, I think we were thinking we were going to lose at this point because we've literally got 2 Pokemon left. And I think that we must have to revive at least 1 team member in order to win the battle here. So we keep crippling Gyarados' attack. Just keep using Charm on it. We use one of our full restores to fully restore Dragon as well. Waterfall does barely anything because its attacks drop down. It's not very effective anyway. Gyro Ball doesn't quite hit that hard on it because Dragon hasn't Dragon Danced yet. Goes for the Dazzle and Gleam combo. And I think what we do is we either heal or revive. We heal, Dragon up, and go for Dragon Dance, which does make us more susceptible to Gyro Ball, but it also means we can actually hit more than an absolute tiny amount. Gyarados also goes for Dragon Dance as well, which we're a bit worried about, but it's still 3 stages down, so it doesn't matter all that much. We go for the Rock Slide because it's super effective against Gyarados. At least, no, we don't. We go for Outrage and take the risk, because with Outrage and doubles, you don't know which team member it's going to hit. But we looked out and it hit Gyarados, or maybe it only hits the right one, and I should know this, really. She's got one of our own team members, Ludicolo. So obviously, we know how to deal with that. Unfortunately, we don't have any team members that can very easily deal with it. It goes for the Muddy Water. Muddy Water is not much of a threat offensively, but of course it can reduce accuracy, which is extremely annoying when that happens. But we go for the Rock Slide in the hopes to knock out. We go for Crunch in the hopes to knock out Bronzong. but it does get healed, and we only get it down to half HP. Giga Drain does absolute nothing. So we go for another Dazzling Gleam and another Crunch to finally get rid of Bronzong. It was on the field far too long. Very much outstayed its welcome. Another Muddy Water, lucky not to get the accuracy drop on that one. It's just Ludicolo left, so we're laughing at this point. Outrage knocks it out, and that is Aquia dealt with. Probably the one we had most of a struggle with out of the four. So our third one is Britta. She is a Hail team user, and she will fight you in this room. So she sends out Aurorus and Skarmory. So that is the situation there. Aurora's 4 times weak to steel, but first we decide to go for the Hone Claws, and Skarmory is weak to fire and electric. We go for Flamethrower. It doesn't quite activate Sturdy, but it would have done if we'd hit a bit more, so you can't really OHKO Skarmory very easily. And unfortunately we get Frozen, which is just my luck. Obviously Hail is going during a Hail team, and we then decide to go for Aurorus with Steel Wing, and we hope that we freeze out, but we don't freeze out, instead get body pressed and knocked out. But we do manage to OHKO Aurorus with Steel Wing, and it goes down. So we are 1-up at the moment. More Hail, which doesn't help. Skarmory doesn't get battered by the Hail because it's got an item, safety goggles or something, that stops it getting hailed on. Jellicent next, pretty bulky, but I think we've already used Hone Claws, and we just want to use it again to get power trips, power up to 100, to make for an easy OHKO. We then use Dragon's Turn to heal Bird, which obviously is useful. Scald does not burn it. That's more of the risk with Scald at this current situation. Jellicent does get battered by the Hail, and I think he's the only team member of Britta that does. We go for the Rock Slide to get rid of Skarmory and also potentially flinch Jellicent. But Bird moves first and power trips and knocks it out. So that's that element of the team dealt with. Next we have 2 pretty strong, in my opinion, ice types, Weavile and Mamoswine. I think our idea was just to get rid of Weavile, because otherwise it would probably Swords Dance and sweep the team. And Haxorus goes for Outrage, unfortunately gets Ice Punched and knocked out. Mamoswine Icicle crashes, but we managed to hit it. But unfortunately I forgot that it had the Focus Sash, but nonetheless, Bird is still standing, and we're contemplating who to send out next. Bat will just get knocked out instantly. Lilypad will be fine. None of them carry Freeze Dry. So I think what we were doing was we were going to use Steel Wing on Weavile to finish it off before it could sweep the team, and going for the healing Max Potion on Lilypad's turn. Britta heals Weavile, but it's lost its Focus Sash, so we can Steel Wing and OHKO it, and it goes down. All that's left now is Mamoswine. It's pretty strong, but not strong enough to take on this whole team, especially considering Bird can resist or is immune to its ground type attacks. And Lilypad can just hit it with a super effective Giga Drain. That's basically what happens, and it didn't really stand much of a chance against these two. It goes down, and we get the XP. Now, because we're getting XP over the course of this video, our team's stronger with each progressing member, so that's why that occurs. The last one is Terran. He uses Sandstorm team, and so he first leads with Hippowdon and Claydol, both very bulky, but we lead with Bird and Lilypad, and we're actually now sort of higher level than him with those two. We go for the Hone Claws with a view to use Power Trip, and we're worried about Giga Drain's PP, so we use Bubble Beam instead on Hippowdon. Gets it to about half, Earth Power hits, and we go for the Hone Claws at this point. Hippowdon goes for the Stealth Rock, which is, it's not great against Bat, but it otherwise isn't that bad against the team. I suppose it's not good against Dog either, but we weren't really planning to send out Dog against this team anyway. It wouldn't do that well. Goes for a barely effective Earth Power, another Hone Claws. We assume they're going to either heal Hippowdon or something else is going to happen. So we go for the Power Trip on the Claydol, and we also try and heal Lilypad. That's what occurs there. Psychic hits a fair amount on it, but Power Trip almost OHKOs Claydol, but unfortunately a critical Ice Fang takes down Lilypad, which is definitely not a good sign. We send out Hattie, just sort of as a bit of bulk, and I think we're deciding what to do at this point. We decide straight away to revive Lilypad because it would come in later useful in the fight. And we go for the Dazzling Gleam because they're both on low HP, and we figure why not? We might as well, get two birds. So goes for Earthquake, almost knocks out Hattie, but Dazzling Gleam knocks them both out. And then what follows is receiving an absolute ton of XP, which you usually get when you knock out both Pokemon in double battles. So then the next two that we have, we almost got knocked out by Sandstorm, Aggron and Sandaconda. Sandaconda carries Sandspit, so if you attack it, the Sandstorm's going to come back up, but the Sandstorm's still going. So there's that to consider as well. So that's why I think we prioritise Sandaconda in this fight. We send Crobat back out because it can't get Psychicked by Claydol anymore. And it's obviously immune to the ground type moves. Unfortunately, Rock Slide was used, and that goes down as quickly as I thought it would do previously. We send out Dragon, who's an absolute MVP in this video, I've just realised. And it goes for the Dragon Dance. Oh no, it doesn't. It goes for one of the moves, that's for sure. Crunch on Sandaconda. I think we didn't want to waste PP on either Dragon Dance or Rock Slide. But Rock Slide would have been pretty useless against this team anyway. Sandaconda goes down. Rock Slide again, and managed to avoid it by Dragon. I think Dragon might have been knocked out otherwise. Its last Pokemon, Duraludon, comes out. We're a bit anxious about our HP, so I think we hope for the best with the Outrage, even though one's neutral and one's not very effective. Draco Meteor's Dragon, which goes down, although Dragon wouldn't have been much of a help now at this point in the battle. White Herb, so the Draco Meteor SP attack goes straight back up again. We decide to send out Dog at this point because we're against two Steel types rather than the two Ground types. And we go for Steel Wing because it's neutral rather than not very effective. Unfortunately, Dog gets body pressed just like in the last battle. It's very unfortunate happening to Dog. But that's what happens. We send out Lilypad, we keep getting Stealth Rocked, so we're a bit anxious about switching constantly. In this battle, go for a super effective Bubble Beam against Aggron. Breaking Swipe, we're not really bothered about Lilypad, but obviously it affects Bird's attacks a little bit, because obviously its attack's been reduced. So there's that, and that's just Duraludon left. We weren't as confident with this one as we were about the last Pokemon on other battles, because it's pretty strong and it can resist sort of most of our moves as well. And it's pretty offensive as well. Even with the magic attack drop from Draco and Meteor, it's still got a bunch of physical attacks as well. So it's not really much of a bother if it does use Draco Meteor. So it doesn't get that weakened as other Pokemon do in this playthrough. We go for the Protect Breaking Swipe combo, and now Bird's attack is quite low, which is why Power Trip did barely anything. So we're sort of thinking of a strategy at this point. We'll obviously get our attack back up again, as well as our accuracy with Hone Claws. Lilypad knows that it can't do anything, so we send out Hattie to sort of use a neutral fairy type move against it. And we're hoping that that would sort of do enough, at least a fair amount of damage with that. But first we decide to go for the Charm, so that its physical offensive power isn't that bad. We're a bit worried at this point because it uses Iron Defense, which affects Body Press, and Charm would not actually reduce any of its attack because it's based off defense. We sort of contemplate what to go on. We go for the Dazzling Gleam. Once again, Bird's attack gets reduced, so it's back to having not much power. Dazzling Gleam, though, hits a lot more than we thought and knocks it out, and that is Terran dealt with finally. So that's all four, and then now all that's left is the Queen herself, Queen Catherine. So you go in there. Make sure you save before you go in the room, by the way, because she does a Cynthia and just automatically drags you into the battle. So she has 6 Pokemon. First one's Chinchino. We send out Bird because of its bulk, it resists all its moves. Go for the Hone Claws, but it doesn't give us any time to attack it. It goes for U-turn and sends out Goodra. Gudra is extremely bulky, but we sort of have. We thought we had a plan, but we send out a dog. I think we were anticipating it would use a different move, so we're sort of working out what to do here. But all of dog's moves are fairly useless. Goes for the Draco Meteor and has the same strategy as the Duraludon with the White Herb as well. Except this one does use a bunch of special moves, so we can cripple it if we've got a good magic tank, rather magic moves, not special in this game. Dazzling Gleam, and we go for the Calm Mind to obviously be better defensively against Gudra. One advantage of against Gudra is that it has quite inaccurate moves. Fire Blast and I think Blizzard, so it doesn't really hit that accurately. So there's that way to also get around it as well. But we go for another Calm Mind just to get the magic defense right the way up before Dazzling Gleaming it. It also carries Hydro Pump, which is inaccurate. I think that was the move I was talking about rather than Blizzard, but it might have Blizzard as well, I don't know. We get an absolute ton of XP after knocking out Gudra. Sends out Hatterene, so now there is a Hatterene on Hatterene fight. I think we decided not to switch because it's already been calm-minded twice and Hatterene's a magic attacker, but we instead decided to heal. I think that was the right move to make because it used moves that barely hit it at all. We go for a neutral Dazzling Gleam, and we managed to hit pretty hard on it, over half. It then goes for Shadow Ball, which it should have really used first, but it didn't, and we knock it out. And so that means we have the more superior Hatterene. Sends out Metagross. Metagross is her strongest one. Arguably Gudra is as well because it's the same level. But I think in terms of actual battle prowess, Metagross is her strongest. We send out Bird. I think we're sort of going for the power trip strategy once again. So that's what we do. Hone Claws. Zen Headbutt doesn't really hit much. Metagross isn't amazingly good against Bird. Obviously it can hit with a neutralized punch and can potentially freeze, but we could just sort of heal around that. Again, I say all woe goes to those who play this game with no items, because I don't know how I would be able to do it, so you're a better player than me, that's for sure. Anyway, it also goes for Meteor Mash, which raises attack. It doesn't do much at the minute, but it will do if we're not careful, so that's why we go for the power trip in that turn. And even the Zen Headbutts that were hitting practically nothing before are now hitting a worryingly high amount. So that's why we heal with Max Potion. And before it goes for another Meteor Mash, this one a critical. We don't get the attack raise though, and I think we risk another power trip, which was a good call because it then goes and faints. So that's something we managed to do. Arcanine is her next one. I think we go for Lily Pad because all its moves are neutral, and we've got Bubble Beam against it. So that was the sort of strategy. It has Intimidate, which is if you're trying to physically take it out, you're going to struggle more. But we are a magic attacker, and with Bubble Beam, that's sort of what we managed to do. It does knock us out with Flare Blitz, but it also significantly damaged itself in doing so. We go for Dragon, and we think, do you know what? We're just going to go for it. Outspeed, Outrage, and that's what works. It gets knocked out, and then Dragon goes absolute beast mode, because she then sends out Chinchino, misses a tail slap, which would have been tragic if it hit, by the way, but we just OHKO it with Outrage, and it faints. So Haxorus at the end of this battle is in absolute beast mode. Her last one, Nidoqueen, we're confused, but we're thinking, why not? Let's just go Outrage. It goes through, hits through Confusion. Nidoqueen is dealt with, and that is Queen Catherine. We have defeated, first time I may say, and then plays the sort of cutscene. So that is that part of the walkthrough done. This is now entering the post-game area. But the walkthrough is not over yet. We're going to go through the post-game next in part 10. We're going to show part of the credits. We're not going to show the whole credits like I'd want to, because I think it's out of date. I need to add some more bits on there for version 2. But I will see you next time for part 10, and thank you very much for watching.